Which word of the day? Today's word is actually multiple words. It's a phrase. And today's word or phrase is thread of life. In Greek mythology, the thread of life represents the course of individual existence to be spun and cut by the Fates. The Fates, or Moirai, are a group of 3 weaving goddesses who assign individual destinies to mortals at birth. Clotho spun the thread of life, Lachesis dispensed it, and Atropos cut the thread, thus determining the individual's moment of death.
You haven't even read that?
Wait, what are you doing with the book?
So he has the confidence to finish the story.
Hear now the words of the witches.
This is Kevin, and welcome to Words of the Witches, the Charmed podcast that will guide you through the lesser-known published material in the Charmed universe and decide how it fits into the grand narrative of the TV series. Hello, lovely listeners. This is episode 9. We are rolling right along. I'm going to have to come up with a name for the listeners of this pod, for the fans of the pod, because I need something cute. I want to refer to you as something cute. I want to greet you with something cute. How about you just submit your suggestions? I'm open to suggestions. Email me wordsofthewitchespod@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram or something, because I just want to have a nice name to call you. Maybe I'll take a vote. I was thinking Witch Watchers. If you like that, let me know. But yeah, definitely, if you have something better, I will definitely consider it. So there's that. Also, one of our lovely listeners that we don't have a name yet, and a friend of the pod, Phoenix, he brought it to my attention that in the last few books there has been this recurring trend of villainizing certain cultures and magical practices. For instance, the voodoo practitioners in Voodoo Moon, the Romani folk practices in the Gypsy Enchantment, and the Druids in The Legacy of Merlin. And while there have been some good examples of these cultures as well in those same books, we had Yvonne, the good voodoo priestess, and we had Merlin, who was a very powerful good druid. It is apparent that focus has been made to make each of these practices a major antagonist, which can be quite harmful and insulting. And I want to apologize for not calling it out sooner, because in my mind, I was justifying that they were going against people abusing the power, not that they were fighting against the practices themselves. And which is likely the case. However, that may not be apparent to most people. Not everyone is as enlightened as I am, especially their target audience, these young teenagers that they were writing for. So it's something to note, because while they may not have meant to highlight these oppressed cultures and practices in that way, it was definitely more implied that these were an evil thing based on the writings that they produced. And I don't want to condone the way media feeds into these negative stereotypes of historically oppressed practices and furthers that. So, yeah, thank you, Phoenix, for mentioning that and bringing that to my attention. Also, follow his podcast, Witch Bitches Review. It's very good, very funny, very informative. I recommend it. Speaking of negative stereotypes, the book this week, Soul of the Bride, represents Hades and the underworld with connotations of evil and villainy, like most modern media today. But in actuality, Hades was more altruistic in nature. He was often portrayed as passive rather than evil, and his role was maintaining relative balance. He was also depicted as cold and stern, and he held all of his subjects equally accountable to his laws, but that's hardly evil. That's more of just like somebody who likes law. I think the negative connotations that he gets is because of people's fear of death and their association with the devil, and this whole view through a white Christian lens makes a lot of things and interprets them into not accurate portrayals. So that's one thing to be aware of that this book is doing. So yeah, carrying on, we'll get started. This is my guest from Greece. Yay!
Hi, I'm Dimitris. I'm from Greece, and I don't know, I'm a Charmed fan. Love it, and thanks, Kevin, for inviting me.
I'm very excited. You are. I always noticed you right away with all the Charmed craziness, and
yeah.
What was your where did you discover Charmed? How did you find out about it and become such a big fan?
Oh, I actually remember it vividly. So I started watching it when it first aired in Greece, and it started airing. I believe it was 1999 or 2000. I'm not really sure. So it was a season, like a year or 2 years after it was initially broadcasted in the US. So I remember it vividly because I was 6 or 7, and we had gone to visit my aunt, my grandmother's sister, and I was flipping through the channels, and it was the very first episode. Like, they were airing the very first episode for the first time, and I saw Holly. And she had, like, there were 3 sisters, and she had the longest hair, and I had a thing for long hair back then.
Yeah, just to like,
exactly
flip it.
They were writing on the wall that I was gay when I saw Piper and fell in love with her hair. And they were doing, I don't know, witchy stuff, and it was mysterious and exciting, and I was hooked, and my life changed that night. It was I will never forget it. And yeah, I was crazy about it. Like, all throughout its run, I was waiting for every season to start, and I was looking for the trailers on the Greek channels, and like, everybody was so fucking over it.
It's so crazy, because I always wondered, like, how long it took to get to other parts of the world. Because I only knew the American air date, so I'm like, oh, all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you are like the biggest Holly stan that I know. I think you're like in her inner circle. We talked about this. We had conversations about this. How did that come about?
She does have a circle, like a clique of people that she knows people. Like, she knows everybody. She recognizes faces, and she knows them by name. And she interacts with everybody. But there is like a group of people that she communicates with on a more frequent basis, let's say. So yeah.
Was it your Coyote Piper dance that won her over?
Oh God, that is the funniest thing.
Okay, I know, I saw that video.
Everybody did. It became some sort of a viral video within the charm community, and that thing took place on the first time I met Holly and the rest of the cast in person, because we knew each other. We have known each other like years back, ever since 2009 when we started interacting on Twitter. But like, that thing happened with the Coyote Piper dance, and then everybody knew like who this person was, me. Like, I just became the mascot of the convention, and it was so weird because the following year we went back to Paris for another convention, and people were asking me for photos, which is so weird, and I was so embarrassed. But anyway, it was great. Like, I wouldn't trade these moments and memories.
What convention was that again? What year?
So the first one was in 2014, and the second one was in 2015. And on 2016, they had a convention with Buffy. So it was like a double convention. It was called Witches versus Vampires or something.
Oh, I do remember that. That's right.
Yeah, and it was a fun one, like, because I got to meet the Buffy actors as well. I've never watched a Buffy episode in my life. It never aired in Greece, ever.
Oh wow! See, and
Charmed was a phenomenon here. Like, everybody was crazy about it. Like, every week, the sisters were on the cover of magazines, like dedications, posters. Everybody was crazy about Charmed, but Buffy, no one knew what it was.
For me, that's kind of refreshing because most people are the opposite. They're like, "Oh, Buffy, 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 Buffy," and like Charmed is like the little stepsister. But I'm like, no.
And I always try to fight off the Buffy stans. Even though I've never watched an episode of Buffy, always claiming it's the best one.
So, I guess we'll get started with the book. We had our nice little moment here. And we get to talk about more stuff. The book this week is Soul of the Bride, which is perfect because, you are our Greek expert for a Greek-themed book. It's like meant to be.
Sort of. Can you believe that I finished reading it 15 minutes before we started our podcast?
Oh my gosh. Well, that's good. It's fresh in your brain.
Yes.
Soul of the Bride has the tagline, A heavenly project leads straight into an ancient underworld. Season 2 pictures, since there was no season 3 promo pictures, we have season 2 promo pictures with Phoebe's hair edited to be blonde. It was not originally this color in the original photo. And then we have in the background, we have like nice some trees and like dark blackness, and there's like a vintage camera.
Some light dripping in through the branches and the trees.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking. And then the back of the book says, in a land of lost wandering souls, journey with care on the river Styx. A prince of darkness plays his roles, protect the charmed ones from his tricks. Prue's editor at 415 magazine offers her a challenge. If she takes a really fantastic photo, he'll run it on the cover. This could be Prue's big break, if she can come up with a killer concept. Then Prue gets the idea to shoot a group of models in the Halliwell's Victorian mansion. She'll even use an antique camera to capture the style of an old-time photo. But when Prue snaps the shutter, all the models collapse into a deathly slumber. To rescue the innocents, the charmed ones descend into Hades, fighting underworld perils and uncovering an unholy plot. To rescue the missing models, they must match wits with the greatest of the ancient Greek gods, and one of the sisters might not be allowed to return to her mortal life. So there's the thing. And the author is Elizabeth Leonard, published May 22nd, 2001, with a reprint August 6th, 2001. And according to the internet, this novel is supposed to take place before the season 2 finale, but everything about this book says season 3 to me. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I had in mind. Everything screams season 3.
Yeah. I'm going to get into where I think the timing would be at the end. But right now, the internet tells me it takes place right before the season 2 finale because it takes place in August. Whereas in the season 3 premiere, it says it's October. So I guess they're basically basing it on like the timing of the months.
I mean, like throughout the book, there were a couple of times where Phoebe levitated, didn't she? So didn't she gain the power to levitate in the season 2 finale?
Well, she did. She got the Dragon Warlock power in the season 2 finale, so she was flying in. That wasn't really her power. But then the very next episode, she gained the power of levitation. So, yeah. And this book actually calls it flight. Right. I'm not sure if flight and levitation are the same thing, because levitation is more of like a hovering.
Yeah.
Flight is more like I can grow wings and fly, or just like be Superman or whatever. But we'll go with it.
Well, levitation is the right word for it. You can never like fly like Superman other than the season 2 finale. Right. Remember with that god awful effects, which was looking for Prue.
Yeah. So chapter 1 starts with Prue at 415, and her boss is named Mr. Caldwell, which is actually the name of her third Buckland's boss. Okay. It's interesting that they have this 415 boss have the same name, but sure.
Okay.
But he likes her work and he wants her to come up with an idea and photo for the August cover, but there will be competition. So, people are both trying to get this cover, but he's giving her a shot. Then it comes to Phoebe in college art class. A lot of these books just have Phoebe in a random class because
and she's so caught up on things. Like she's very engaged with things. Like one day she's doing one thing, the other day she's doing another thing.
But she's in a college art class and the teacher is just unimpressed by her painting. He's like, And then Nikos, which is a new student from Greece, a Greek student, and he introduces himself to her and he's like, I actually really like your work. And she swoons hard because a big theme in these books is them just falling head over heels for a guy right away.
Exactly. And Nikos is such a typical Greek name. Like it's one of the most common names that we have here. And it's actually short for Nicholas.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you some Greek trivia all throughout the year.
I'm excited for it. That's exactly why you're here. So perfect.
Yeah.
And so then Nikos shows his own paintings that he's been working on, and they're like dark and like swirls and hypnotizing.
It comes with a name. Like the very first guy I ever fell in love with like after coming out of the closet. His name was Nikas, and he was no different from the Nikas from this book.
Oh,
We'll
wow.
find out later.
Oh, yeah. Well, if Phoebe looks at his painting and she's like, "Oh, that's interesting," but she's like, "That's talent right there." And he and Phoebe go get some coffee. Right, get that tea like she's always doing.
She's the one. I'm a Piper stan, but Phoebe's the one that's more relatable to me.
Sure.
She was the good sister was getting digged down like every season. She was getting it with no signs of stopping.
Everyone's got a role to play. That's just the name of the game. So he and Phoebe get some coffee, and then it cuts to Piper. She's organizing her P3 financials in the kitchen. She's kind of bored. She's like, "This is such stupid work. I hate this stuff. I feel like I'm boring. I'm nothing special. I'm not cool like my sisters." And she's just a little bummed out by that. And Prue and Phoebe come home ranting about their exciting days, and Piper just sighs. She's like, "Ah."
Her life is so boring compared to her sister.
But they notice Piper is kind of in a funk, and they decide to make a sister night happen. They're going to schedule some time, and they're going to get Piper out of her funk and her routine, and they're going to have a good time.
We see the chapter starts, and we see Prue at the library, and she was going through photography books, and then she meets a journalist called Mitchell. We see him being interested in one of books that can be seen in Prue's stack. So Prue seems to like him. She's swooning over him, let's say. So they talk a bit, and then Mitchell drops an idea about what she could do with her project. Prue comes up with the idea to feature Victorian architecture and get models who can play Greek characters, gods and goddesses.
Yeah.
So they agreed to have lunch together the very next day. So next thing we see Phoebe, who is sitting in the sunroom thinking about the date that she had with Nikas. And Nikas wants to draw her, and then she says a very funny thing. That she thought "move over, Kate Winslet," which is a nod to
Titanic. I had to add it in there. I had to put that in there because I was obsessed. Like in 1997, when that movie came out, I was like obsessed with Titanic. So I'm like, "Oh, that's funny."
Everybody was obsessed with Titanic.
Yeah,
everybody still is. And
it was popular at this time, so it makes sense.
Exactly. So next thing, Prue wants to hire 8 models to play Greek god couples. And then she says that she needs Piper to help her out because she's a mythology expert and she can speak Latin. Not really sure how that's relevant.
Canon,
yeah. Did it say so in the book? I can't remember it.
Yeah, they said that she can speak Latin, and then she's the expert at the Greek, because she studied mythology and stuff. And she uses it throughout the book. She's always like, "Oh yeah, I know this and this and this and this." Although I don't know, it's not really a Piper-y thing,
It's actually not, but we do know that she was a geek back in.
She was a geek. She was a geek, so maybe she had a really good mythology class that she liked. Although still the Latin thing still throws me off because that was Prue's specialty, So
exactly. What was the episode? The one with the painting?
The Painted World, season 2, episode 3.
I love that. Cool. So Phoebe volunteers Nikas and herself to be models, and she wants to help Prue out and find 6 more models from her campus. And then Prue asks a favor from Piper. She wants her to make food for the models because the photo shoot is gonna take all day long and they need to be fed because they're skinny and models and they need to be fed.
Yes.
So the next day, Mitchell and Prue have their lunch date in a Vietnamese restaurant. I love Vietnamese food, by the way. It's a great one, kind of a boring romantic sucking up. there's the weird lady who seems to be, I don't know, knowing stuff. Mitchell also, from what I can recall, he can speak Vietnamese for some reason.
Yeah.
Which impresses Prue. And Prue admires his professional passion, because who doesn't? So Mitchell wants to be Prue's assistant on her photo shoot. He doesn't want to get paid. He doesn't have a problem with being ordered to do stuff. And then he kisses Prue in a very passionate way.
Yes. So the day of the shoot, Prue wakes Phoebe up and she telekinetically throws the covers off of Phoebe. And I thought that was funny. She's like, get up! And like, yeah. And you know, Phoebe's always sleeping in while Prue's like up at the crack of dawn. So it's makes sense. And then Piper gives Prue a lesson in Greek gods as she plans. So Prue is using Piper's expertise and like say, who are these people? What would they do?
Yeah.
And that works. And then Nikos arrives at the manor and he brings Prue an old Victorian camera he thought she might want to use. And Prue's like, ooh, this is awesome. So perfect. I'm excited.
Yep. It reminded me of the Pardon My Past episode, the camera.
Yeah. Like under the curtain type of thing. And
exactly.
Yeah. And then Phoebe appears in her toga costume, looking beautiful and like as always.
As always.
And Nikos is there and he's looking at her. She's looking at him. She's like, ooh, I'm gonna kiss him. I'm gonna kiss him later.
I wanted to say that.
Like, I hope he likes what he sees. More of the models show up one by one, slowly and surely. They start mingling around the parlor and stuff. They get into their outfits, they're changing, and then one of the female models is a no-show. And so now Prue and Phoebe have to recruit Piper to fill in, much to her embarrassment, which is right on brand for Piper. She's like, no.
Exactly. She would never model for anything.
Oh, she's like, no one wants to look at me. Like,
exactly.
She's cute. I love her. But then she assigns Piper to be Aphrodite, Phoebe to be Persephone, and Nikos is Hades.
So I have a couple of things to say here.
Okay.
Aphrodite was the goddess of love.
Right.
And remember, Phoebe played her on
Oh My Goddess, right?
The 2-part season 5 finale, Oh My Goddess.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Paige was Ares, the god of war, who
right?
Actually male. I don't know why they chose to. I mean, because Paige is a female, that's why. But yeah, normally Ares is a guy. And the interesting thing is that Piper on Oh My Goddess, she played Demeter, the goddess of earth and fertility. That's actually my name, Dimitris, Demeter. So the fun fact here is that Demeter is Persephone's mother. So that's a great, she is Persephone's, Demeter's daughter. And later on, when we hear about the abduction, when we learn about the abduction of Persephone by Hades, Demeter was crushed. She was so sad that her daughter was taken, and she brought hell to earth. And her sorrow was so big that it started raining, and it was like a big mess. And she contacted Zeus, and she had Zeus make an arrangement with Hades to let Persephone stay on Earth with her mother for 6 months, and then the 6 others with Hades down in the underworld.
Oh, so that's how it worked out. Very cool. I loved the little history lesson. Thank you.
we learn, like, that's what we are taught in school here in Greece. Mythology.
I was gonna ask that. I forgot to ask that. Yeah, how it's if it's part of your typical school thing to learn about the myths like that. So
exactly during elementary school, though, like, 'cause it's all fun and fairy tales. Like, we learn all these things at a very young age, and then we learn about more serious stuff. Last summer, when we went to an island, a Greek island called Amorovos, with my then boyfriend, now he's an ex, we made a TikTok called The Abduction of Persephone, because we were at a cave, very beautiful place, and I was Persephone, and he was Hades, and we filmed like a humorous TikTok of me being abducted and driven into the cave to do some shenanigans.
Yes, you sent that to me. It was very lovely. I had a good time watching it.
Good times.
Mitchell is there now. He's at the manor, and he's being such a good assistant, helping Prue. He's doing, all the assistant-y things, and there's the prima donna model Chloe. She's all like, "Oh God, I'm being very demanding." She wants like Evian water and
like a bitch.
right. But there's always got to be that character that you love to hate and stuff like this,
Exactly.
So it works. Mitchell goes to get the prima donna model a water, and the models are all posed and ready to go. And so while Mitchell's gone, she decides to just click the shutter, and all of a sudden, all the models besides Piper and Phoebe collapse onto the floor. And they're asleep, but the sisters are like, "What just happened? Like, why is everybody on the floor now?" Okay,
exactly. Strange thing, and it also reminded me of the Last Picture Show, the season 8 episode.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
There's
no way that the charmed writers of the show were not inspired by this book for that episode.
The producers were involved in like having to approve these books. So now Prue is annoyed. She's like, "Okay, well, Nikos gave me the stupid camera, so he's evil." she just deduces right away. Yeah, it's like, this camera's cursed. He brought it to me. I don't trust him anymore.
Prue's always so suspicious of people.
Right. She's like, "Yep, he's definitely bad, so I hate him." And then Phoebe touches the camera, and she gets a vision of her walking through a muddy swamp with skeletons, and there's like, ooh, ghostly cries. It's like, oh, that was interesting. I wonder what that was about. So the girls go check the Book of Shadows, and they come across this passage about a camera and soul stealing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Book of Shadows entry says, "Primitive cultures have long been mocked for the belief that a camera will steal one's soul. Little do most mortals know that cameras are classic portals to points beyond. The soul is captured by an energy vortex in a spellbound camera. It must be retrieved through the same portal." Like, that's kind of a cool concept. I can get behind that.
I like it too. I wish there was such a thing in real life. Right. Get sucked into other,
Right. I'm all about those portals, those little pocket realms, those portals. Like, I used to watch Mighty Max back in the day where he had the cap and he would just go anywhere he wanted. And the girls deduced that their powers must have protected them from being sucked into the camera. So they find a spell that will temporarily make them mortal so that they can use it to get in there wherever they are. But then they're soon attacked by a Cerberus. Oh!
Cerberus, another mythical creature from Greek mythology. So basically Cerberus was a big dog, a hound that lived in the underworld and was guarding the dead, the souls of the dead, so they wouldn't escape. That's what Cerberus was all about.
What size was he generally? Because this book made him seem like he's just like a regular dog size, but like in the Hercules movie, he's giant.
Yeah, he's supposed to be huge.
Huge, okay.
Supposed to be a very big dog, and also he made an appearance on the first Harry Potter movie.
Yes, I remember. Mm-hmm.
That scene was inspired by Cerberus. The dog with the 3 heads.
Yeah.
Okay, so chapter 4 begins with the girls fighting the Cerberus off until Phoebe has the idea to expose the wires on a faulty lamp, plug it in, and stretch the cord, and then electrocute the beast. That one.
Right.
And that was not enough because they go downstairs and they are attacked by another beast, a very frightening, some sort of a bird woman called she's a harpy, another creature of the Greek mythology. So Phoebe started flying and fought it, and Prue finished off by flinging it hard into a wall until it exploded. So there goes Mrs. Harpy.
Not to be confused with the harpy that was actually in the show. We had a harpy demon in Bite Me. They had the harpy demon. that was like
yeah, you're right.
and she was like shooting like electricity or something out of her hands, like, and then she had like talons, and she was like dominatrix, and I don't know what it was.
I remember her.
Yeah.
I got so confused because
With the
I thought
Furies.
we were talking about the Furies,
Yeah.
where Hydra turned into a Fury. That's actually my favorite episode of Charmed. Hell hath no fury. My all-time favorite episode of Charmed, because
that scene,
and we don't even have to like mention like we don't have to specify what scene we're talking about, because everybody's.
You can't. I mean, it breaks your heart every single time. I can't not watch it and just bawl.
Exactly. That was actually the very first time I realized I wanted to be an actor, when I was a kid and I was watching that movie. Like something sparked in me when I was watching Holly.
Yeah. Oh.
As soon as they vanquished Harpy, Phoebe says this silly thing: flying is getting easier, but the landing is still tricky.
Do you know why I wrote that in there?
Why did you write it?
Because it reminded me of the line she says in Be Careful What You Wish For. She's like, flying's awesome. It's the landing part that's a bitch.
Oh, yeah, I remember it.
And so I'm like, this sounds a lot like that line from that episode. I'm like, how funny.
As soon as she breaks the window and lands in, that's what said it. Yeah. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
So they step in front of the camera, the sisters, I mean. They say the spell to make them temporarily mortal, and Prue hits the shutter cord, and all before a Hydra attacks. So basically, Hydra is a very deadly creature in Greek mythology. And Hercules is actually the one who kills her. We're taught about that in school as well. So they awaken in some black sludge with a mansion in the distance, and they can hear ghostly wisps, let's say. Phoebe realizes this is the place in her vision, in her premonition, and it's also what Nikos painted, but she doesn't let her sisters know, because they, like, Prue's already suspicious of Nikos, so she doesn't want to contribute to that. Right. So
keeping
now
it to herself.
Keep it to herself, yeah, of course. She doesn't want to lose the day. So traveling through the woods, they come to a river, and a hooded skeletal figure on a ferry appears. Piper realizes that he's Charon, and that they are in Hades for the souls of the dead. Charon. So this is. He's a figure, he's like a person that we mention quite a lot in our conversations here in Greece. Like, Charon, we call it Haros. So we call him Haros, and we say that, Charon is gonna come and get you. And like when we wanna tell somebody off or curse him off, we say Charon is gonna come and get you, and you're gonna go to hell. Things like that. It doesn't translate well to English, but that's something that we say a lot when we tell people off.
I guess it's kind of like our go to hell. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is funny because not to be confused with Karen, the one that was in Charmed, because there's a lot of these figures that were in Charmed in different interpreted in different ways.
What was the episode?
It was in The Power of Two. She was the one that was with Jackson Ward.
Season 1.
Season 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 20.
You're such a
but yeah, it's totally different. The Karen in there was a woman who was just like collecting souls and doing whatever with them. So different. Chapter 5, Karen requires payment to take them down the, how do you say that? Acheron? Acheron.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Greek, we say it Acherondas.
Okay.
Acheron.
Acheron. Okay. Acheron River. And they have no coins. But Phoebe gives him her pearl necklace. Okay. This is where it starts to get really confusing for me, because you're gonna hear me talk about this a lot, but the logistics of this camera and the souls doesn't compute so well in this book for me. because like, should physical things be able to be carried with them through the camera? If she gives him, because this is their spirits now, their souls are in the Hades. If she gives them the necklace, when they return to their bodies, the necklace should still be on her person.
Yes, it's going to be there. I'm assuming.
Right. So I'm like, okay, you didn't just give away the necklace because it's only your soul that has it. So I don't know. It's weird to me.
They tricked Karen away.
Yeah.
Tricked him.
Yes. So, but he takes it as payment, and he takes them across the river, and then they get off the ferry, and then there's this intense fog around the sisters, and they start to get kind of sleepy or very sleepy, and they're woken by maniacal laughter. I think of like the children and we all scream for ice cream, how crazy they were laughing, and a centaur starts running toward them. Do you want to talk about what a centaur is?
A centaur is again another creature from Greek mythology who was half a horse, like his lower part was a horse. He had 4 legs, like the tail, everything, and the upper part is like a proper man, like a torso and the hands and the half horse, half man, and but we, like in Greek mythology, never have I heard that they laugh, like they burst into laughter, like diabolically and shit. Like,
yeah.
this is the first time.
This one was just particularly evil and probably insane, you know.
Maybe.
Yeah. But he starts running towards them, and he just yanks Phoebe off the ground. He's like, "Yoink, here you go," and he gallops away. Prue and Piper start chasing after him. They have to stop because they're too winded. They can't run anymore.
Of course.
And so, of course, a horse, of course.
Oh, yes. They're fast.
So then Prue's like, oh, you know what I'm going to astral project. So she astral projects right into the centaur's path in front of him. And he freaks out. So he's like, oh, nay, I'm going to turn around. And then she appears in his path again. 2 more times, 3 times, 4 times. So she keeps so she keeps going into his path. The centaur is just completely spooked by this. He's like, whoa, I don't understand. And so he hurls Phoebe off of his back, and he just gallops away. He's like, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how in the books, and they do it quite a lot in this particular one, there are some things that they do, like, for example, now where Prue astral projected 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times in a single scene. We never get to see that on the show, on the television. Like Piper, she never froze somebody more than 3 times, like in one scene. Right. Maybe it's, I don't know, the budget that they had with the special effects and things like that. But it's cool to see that they actually did it in the novels.
Right. So now that they go ahead and regroup with Phoebe, and they follow a water stream into a cave. Come up upon Nikos, and he's just like turns around. He's wearing these long velvet robes. He's sitting on a throne, smoking a cigar. Completely, he's so cocky. So he's just like, I've been waiting for you.
Over himself.
So full of himself. I love it.
Yeah.
He reveals that he is the son of Hades, and that his whole act was a ruse to bait Phoebe into coming into the underworld to be his bride. He needed like a divine soul to marry a worthy soul for a god. Because apparently the short on goddesses. I'm like, what? Every goddess is married. You can't have any goddess anymore. So he's like, I'm going to get a witch instead.
For a witch.
He detains Phoebe. He grabs Phoebe, and he waves his hand, which sends Prue and Piper back, and they wake right back up in the manor in their bodies. Phoebe, however, is gone. So this is weird to me. Like, their souls went into the camera. He sent their souls back. Why isn't Phoebe's body still laying there?
Because he just wanted Prue and Piper to be gone.
Yeah, but like he has the souls of the models, and the models' bodies are there. How come he has Phoebe's soul, but Phoebe's body isn't there?
Wait.
No, because they wake back up in the manor, and Phoebe isn't there at all. She's not there sleeping. She's like not. She's completely gone.
She's not?
She's not.
Oh, you're right. I didn't pay attention to that part.
Yeah. So I'm like, this does not make sense to me. Why is her body gone?
Maybe, I don't know, maybe one of the snake maidens like fetched the body and brought it back to the underworld.
That's the only other thing I can think of, because they're being attacked by all these creatures. Maybe one of the creatures fetched her body and took it. That's the only thing that would make sense. They
probably.
don't.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you that. So I'm like, this is weird. So that's something.
Okay. So we're going into chapter 6 with Prue and Piper looking around through the house, but still Phoebe is nowhere to be seen. The other models' bodies are still sleeping peacefully in the sunroom where I believe the photo shoot was taking place. Prue then tries to fling sleeping Nikos' body, but it doesn't work. And Piper says that apparently that is just a projection of Nikos and it's not the real body. Then Prue and Piper go to the Book of Shadows up in the attic and they look for something about Hades. Prue says that she saw Phoebe hold her hands over the book to make it flip to whatever page she needed. And we have seen that on the show as well.
Like she makes it seem like Phoebe has that power. The only time she ever did that was when she had the smart spell. That's the only time she ever did it.
That is correct. When she had the smart spell, and also the other times that we saw it was when Grams was doing it for them.
So they shouldn't be able to. They shouldn't be able to just be like this whenever they want. It was enhancements, So that I called that out quickly too.
Yeah. When they try to do it, of course, it doesn't work. And then we see Phoebe in Nikos' dark cave lair, and we see a bunch of his creepy snake maidens give Phoebe a makeover, because what else would you do once in the underworld? You get a makeover.
They give her curly Greek dark hair.
Exactly. Phoebe is taken to Nikos and he tells her that he needs to be married by his next birthday or he will be banished to live on Earth as a human, stripped from his powers, of course. And that is only 4 days away from that day. He then gives Phoebe a jeweled ring, which fuses to her and encourages to eat from his buffet with all sorts of delicious food. And of course, Nikos is obviously an egomaniac and has no care about anything except the wedding ceremony. He has little interest in little Phoebe. And he even calls her, what did he say? Like, when I read it, it made such an impression to me. He called her not ugly. Like, you're not ugly. You're not beautiful, but you're not ugly. Which is such a thing to say, because Alyssa Milano is like this. She's so beautiful, and to call Phoebe just not ugly.
It's like, yeah. Prue finds a spell to find lost souls, and she and Piper say it thrice. And in a close by mirror, images of Phoebe in her gothic attire and fancy ring in a bedroom of sorts. She's like in a cave bedroom, and they see her. And these images appear in the mirror, and they see her, kind of like a mirror on the wall type of thing. They realize that she's intended to be a bride. They kind of look at the clues, and they're like, "Oh yeah, she's going to be a bride," just like Hades did with Persephone, whom, because she ate a pomegranate seed, was doomed to live in Hades. And Piper remembers that Zeus had power over Hades and cut Persephone's sentence in half. So they decide to try to contact Zeus. Maybe they can do the same thing for Phoebe. Hopefully she didn't eat any food. Ironically, while the Book of Shadows had nothing of Hades in it, there was an entry on Mount Olympus.
I was trying to remember if we ever saw on the show a page about Zeus, or was it about the Titans? Maybe it was the Titans.
It was the Titans, yeah. But one thing that's inaccurate about the show, or well, I guess between the lore of this book and the lore of the show, just comparing the two. In the show, the gods became gods because they were bestowed by the elders. The elders granted that power to them.
Mm-hmm.
Where in this is like the actuality of Greek mythology in this book. So.
Correct. The Titans were also Greek, and if you remember, one of their names was Dimitris.
Yes.
My name. And they were actually Zeus's father was a Titan, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, Zeus was born in Crete. I come from Crete, which is the biggest island in Greece. And he was born in a cave in the highest mountain that we have in Crete called Psiloritis, which means high mountain. So the mythology says that Zeus was born there, and he was kept there in order to be protected from his father, because like he kept eating all of his other children, and then Zeus was saved because he was kept in that mountain, in that cave.
See, fascinating stuff.
Very fascinating stuff.
So they find the entry of Mount Olympus, and there's a spell that will allow them to go there. But one has to drink a potion, and another has to read the spell to send them there. So it only works. You need two people. Don't know why you can't say the spell yourself, but apparently you can. And just then a Gorgon with a bow and arrow attacks. Gorgons are supposed to be like the Medusa type of thing with the snake heads. Yeah, usually it's like a snake body, a woman's head with snakes, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Medusa was the creature with the snakes instead of hair. Where when you looked at her, you turned into stone.
Right.
And her story, like, I don't know why Hollywood has not made a movie about Medusa, because her story is so sad and fascinating. Because she was a very beautiful woman, and she was raped in Apollo's temple by a guy. Wait, no, it was not in Apollo's temple. It was in Athena's temple, who's the goddess of wisdom. So Athena punishing the guy that raped Medusa, she punished Medusa and turned her into this deadly creature. Because not only was Medusa assaulted, raped, and degraded, but she was also turned into a beast, which is the total opposite of the beautiful that she was. It's a sad story if you think about it.
It really is. And then she becomes known as like this kind of villain. And they have like Medusa like in a lot of different movies, but nothing that really focuses on her. So that would be a really good movie.
Like a proper movie about her, because her story is amazing.
I agree. So they're being attacked by this Gorgon. Piper freezes it. Prue walks the mirror, walks it right in front of its face. I would probably be freaking out if I had to carry this, like walking over to the Gorgon. But she brings the mirror right in front of its face, and when it unfreezes, the Gorgon sees its reflection and turns to stone and like screams and stuff. So now they have this giant Gorgon statue in their house. They're like, what are we gonna do with this now? Great. And then the sisters get all the ingredients for their potion, and they decide that Piper will be the one to go to Olympus, and Prue will be the one to say the spell.
Which surprised me when I read it, because I was expecting Prue to go, because she's the kick-ass, with telekinetic power. But then it did make sense that Piper would be the one to go, because all of her knowledge of Greek mythology, and she's persuasive, and she can talk, and she can carry a conversation, and
she would be the one to convince Zeus. And that's exactly why, because Piper thought for sure that Prue would be the one to go. She's like, I know it's going to be you. And then Prue's like, actually, I think it should be you. Such a nice little, really kind of a nice sensitive moment. You get the sense of Piper's eyes light up, and she's like really moved, and she's happy to have something important.
I was rooting for her.
Yeah. So they make the plan to send her there. So for it to work, you have to send them there at sunset and call them back at sunrise. And I kind of missed that the first time. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's all about timing for the spell to work. Just then, Mitchell arrives for his date with Prue. She completely forgot about it, but Mitchell's like, hey, I'm here. We said you're going to go out tonight. And Prue is going to tell him that she can't go. She's like, I have to cancel. We got other stuff to do. I got to make this potion. But Piper encourages her to go, which I actually really appreciated that. Nobody ever goes on their dates they're supposed to go on. They never make it through the threshold, but she actually went out with him. I'm like, all right. I'm like, yeah.
She had time.
Yeah. I'm like, Piper says she can make the potion herself. They have to wait for sunrise anyways. Like, we do have time. Why don't you just go? And so Prue's like, okay, cool. I'm gonna just
go.
Yeah. So Piper tells Mitchell that Prue will be out in 5 minutes. She's just getting ready. I was happy. I'm just like, okay.
Prue deserves the best D out there.
Yeah, and I was really liking Mitchell at this point, because he was just like, he seemed like a really fun guy, very helpful, very knowledgeable, very professional. Like, I'm like, I could see him being a really good match for Prue,
And me too. He's the kind of guy that I want.
Yeah. So I was
accomplished, nice looking, compassionate. Eager to work. Like, ugh.
I didn't mention this. He works for like the National Enquirer. He's really well accomplished, you know.
Exactly.
So I'm like, all right. I'm like, you go, Mitchell. You get it, Prue. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for you.
Wait for it.
I know.
So we go into chapter 8 with Mitchell taking Prue to an Italian restaurant so they can eat some pizza and pasta and do other stuff. So they got dessert to go, and they had it and enjoyed it on the bluff under the stars.
Romantic.
Very romantic. Mitchell took out his camera and was about to photograph Prue, but it made her uneasy and uncomfortable and asked him not to take the picture, the photo.
He's like, no! She like freaks out.
No.
So yeah, you know, Prue was like real shaken, so that made me laugh.
She felt guilty that she was having so much fun while
Yeah.
her picture was literally in hell.
Yeah, I mean, it's traumatic. It can be traumatic for sure.
I know. Mitchell apologized and held her and calmed her down, because that's what you do when you're a nice and beautiful man. And of course, they kissed many times sweetly and exchanged saliva. The next morning, Prue and Piper meet in the kitchen, and they say the incantation, and Piper is sent to Olympus. Olympus is the biggest, the highest mountain that we have here in Greece. I've never been there, but people go and they hike, and people even go to the top. And
oh, that's cool. I didn't realize it was actually a real mountain. That's awesome.
It is a real mountain. Of course it is.
I thought it was just like a concept, like heaven or something. But that's awesome.
It is a real place, and people train to do the whole ride. Like they train for years to do the whole hike. Yeah,
cool.
Because it's very high. So yeah, and that's where the Greek gods are supposed to live. Like we have 12 main gods, like Zeus and Aphrodite and Hera and Ares and Poseidon and all of them. But then we also have other gods that live in some parts of the Olympus. Anyway, my favorite one when I was a kid was Eros, who was actually Aphrodite's son.
I'm rubbing my nipples already. It's great.
He's like the Greek version of your Cupid. Piper went from being inside a metallic bubble down a twisty chute slide and into a cottony room. So she had to go through different, stages and phases.
It sounded real crazy. It was just like, I mean, like in like Alice in Wonderland over here. It sounded really crazy.
Wonderland.
Yeah.
She heard a woman's voice welcoming her by name. And it was some sort of a test which she passed because she was pure of spirit, because that's Piper for you.
Mm-hmm.
Her clothes morphed into a beautiful pale blue gown, and she was standing before Zeus, the god of gods, god of lightning and god of the world and god of the skies. When a mortal needs a favor of the gods, they need to answer a riddle. So Zeus gives one to Piper, and the riddle goes like this. At dark, they come without being summoned. By light, they are lost without being stolen. And with the right answer, Zeus has granted his protection. And of course, the answer was the stars.
Stars, yeah.
The stars.
Stars. So that's Resident Evil for you, but yeah.
Zeus has granted his protection. None of Hades' creatures can fight them, but they are still on their own to retrieve Phoebe. So basically, Phoebe, yes, she is protected by Zeus, but Piper and Prue would have to go back down to the underworld and get Phoebe, along with the models, of course. They just have to get there before the ceremony and before Phoebe eats anything. Otherwise, she's gonna get stuck into the underworld.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure.
Chapter 9 has Prue at the manor, and she's, all alone. Piper's in at Mount Olympus. Phoebe's in the underworld. She's like, okay, I'm mildly bored right now. So what do I got to do? I'm just going to why don't I just check the camera? I only shot one photo, but why don't I check the film on my camera? She develops the one photo she took, and it's beautiful.
Of course, because when you're that talented, all you need is one click.
Just one click, and she's like, "It's perfect. The models look amazing. The poses are stunning. Oh,
the light is perfection.
This is like the best photo I've ever taken. You know, who cares if they passed out in a coma, sleep? This is the best thing I've ever taken in my life."
She is either extremely talented or very
lucky. Right, you're right. In the underworld, now Phoebe is chasing out these snake maidens that are carrying her food. Like, she's coming with piles of food. It's like, eat this, hiss.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, shoot. And just then a woman named Jessica arrives, and she kind of comes in after all the other maidens are shooed out, and she's like, brings a little basket. She made her own little personal stuff, like a picnic of stuff. And she tells Phoebe that she actually married Nikos's older brother. And she like, I embrace my life here. She's like, you should too.
If you cannot avoid it, enjoy it.
Right. She tries to tempt Phoebe with food. She's like seductive. This is like the lesbian scene of the book. She's like, this whatever. It's like, you want to try some honey or whatever. What does she have? I don't remember what she pate. Oh, I love pate.
Caviar.
She's like, so yummy. Like, she's really like laying on thick. It's so sexual and amazing. Yeah, I love it. Want some? And so, but Phoebe's like, she's like, just leave now, you crazy lady. I don't want to have sex with you, and I don't want your food.
I'm not a lesbian. I'm an ally, but I'm not a lesbian.
Right.
Get out of here.
So Jessica leaves. But she leaves her food there with her. Yeah. So Phoebe goes back and she touches the spoon that was left in the basket that Jessica left, and she gets a premonition of Jessica. It's of the past. She was being held prisoner in a similar room like this. She's being fed, and then a flash of Jessica dancing while a bunch of men watched. So this gets into like a toxic masculinity moment where it's like, oh yeah, if you eat this food, you just become a symbol for all these men to watch you dance around. So lovely. But she kind of deduced that, Jessica was actually a person like her once, and she was kind of tricked, and the food did something to her. So she's convinced now that something is wrong with the food in this place, and she's not going to eat still, even though she's starving. So now Piper is back at Mount Olympus, and she is preparing to return to Earth. She has to wait for sunset to approach. Sunset's coming. She's watching like this kind of like from this metal ball, and she's like the light kind of changing. She's like, oh, it's going to be sunset soon. I'm going to go home. Just then, Mitchell greets Prue at the manor with flowers. Sweet, I guess, sure. And she allows him to come into the kitchen, and he helps put the flowers in the water, and they kiss some more. And Piper is like sitting there. She's watching the light. She's starting to worry because the light is getting closer and closer. It's their window is going away, and then and then it just passes. It goes from light to dark, and Prue did not say the return spell. Piper is trapped there for at least another day. Prue is so distracted with her man in the kitchen.
I think is more important.
Yeah. So now Prue, she's realizing, she looks around, she's kissing him, she looks around, she's like, oh my gosh, it's dark out. So now she's like flustered and in a panic. She's like, oh my God, what did I do? What have I done? I'm in trouble. Okay. So she's like, both my sisters are trapped, and I was too busy making out. I'm such a dummy. Okay. So then she tells Mitchell to leave. She's like, no, you have to leave. He's like, I don't think so. I'm like, ooh, Mitchell, what do you mean you don't think so? She's telling you to leave. What are you doing?
What do you mean you don't think so?
Like, that's not the proper response for the sweet man that I thought you were. Okay.
Yep.
And then, he morphed into this hideous, drooling, green, scaly monster. Lovely.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
I do. I'm like, oh, I was rooting for you.
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you?
It's like, you betrayed my trust, and my heart is broken now. Thank you very much, Mitchell.
I was so disappointed by Mr. Mitchell McDreamy.
Yeah.
Mr. McDreamy.
Because this book really did fool you. I was mad.
I was, because when Nicholas turned out to be the villain of the book, I was let down because he seemed nice. And then Mitchell turns into a monster, and I thought he was safe. But nope, it's charmed.
Yeah, right.
Charmed for you.
So, yeah, he morphs into the monster, and he goes, "You'll never be able to save Phoebe. My lord Nikos will be pleased."
My lord. Prue put all the pieces together that pointed to how Mitchell was actually evil all this time. Heartbreaking. Very. She fought off Mitchell as best as she could, eventually using her telekinesis to strangle him with his own tail. I thought that was very cool.
Right.
She put him further in front of the camera, took his photo, and he and Nikos's image disappeared in a poof of smoke. And then Prue tries to find a way to make up for dropping the ball. She messed up big time. She remembers that Phoebe has like a junk drawer full of spells she wrote, and she finds out that she has a time travel spell backward and forward. So Prue says the spell, but she can't save her sisters without the power of 3. So what she thinks of is she grabs items from her sisters to represent her sisters and tries again and manages to reverse time. It takes her back just in time to say the spell to bring Piper back. Piper returned, and the two decide to snapshot themselves back to Hades.
So chapter 11, Phoebe is alone in her cave bedroom cell. She's bored, she's worried, she's hungry. And then one of her snake maidens came in. Phoebe is hiding near the door. She's crouched by the door, and her snake maiden opens because the cave is blocked by this boulder that she can't seem to open. Yeah. So when the snake maiden came in and opened the door, Phoebe crouched and she snuck out the door and was not seen. Prue and Piper, after photographing themselves, awaken inside a rowboat not far from a tropical island, and they're confused. I thought we were supposed to be in the swamp and go to
the horrific place.
Right now,
we're out. Like the Caribbean.
Yeah, now we're out. I mean, I want to go there. I want to go to the Caribbean. That sounds beautiful.
You should come to Greece because, all of our islands are that. The beautiful,
yes,
blue and green water and the sand. In Greece, in Crete, we have a place called Elafonisi where the sand is pink. It's not white or golden. It's pink.
Beautiful. I'll wear my little Speedo like you do. It'll be perfect. Oh.
You wear your Speedo, I'll wear my Speedo, and we'll go.
Deal.
We'll go for a swim.
So they're confused why they're on the islands, and so they start they're in a rowboat, and they start to row to the island that's off in the distance, and several seagull women, sirens, appear. I looked these guys up because I always thought sirens were mermaids, but
yeah, same.
Originally, they were these bird women, and then over time they kind of evolved into the mermaid thing. I'm like, oh, yeah, wow.
I was so confused when I read that they were sirens because I had a totally different thing in my mind. If they say so, I trust them.
Yeah, I guess harpies are the ugly bird women, and sirens are the pretty bird women.
Yes, the pretty version.
So, and it's not to be confused with the siren that was actually in Charmed, because that's completely different too.
Oh yeah, the siren song.
Yeah,
the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that episode.
So good. But that's not what the siren is. So.
No.
Yeah.
But she sang on Charmed. She
did.
Mesmerizing and
Melinda Clark. She has those eyes, Clark. Kiss this bitch, yes? Okay.
Yes. Kiss this bitch. Love it. Wasn't it the episode where Leo was where they exchanged bodies or not?
Two different things. Because there's the one where they switch kind of powers.
Yeah.
But then there's the one where San Francisco Dreaming where he's pregnant because of the dream.
I know. I know. I'm not talking about San Francisco Dreaming. So in Siren Song,
In Siren Song, he is pregnant. He is pregnant too in that. Yeah.
He's pregnant, and Piper's the white lighter, and she speaks French.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Leo's burping the orbs and stuff, and yeah.
Spell, like where Leo tries to come up with a spell with Phoebe.
Oh, yeah, that's the Siren Song one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I remember well.
Yeah.
It's been years, but I still remember them.
Yeah. Anyway, the sirens are there and they're singing. The bird people. These are seagull women, so they're a specific bird, and they sing and they play their instruments, and Prue and Piper are enamored. They're like, "Oh, I love that song. Let's go lay by them."
So the instruments that the sirens play, it's called a lyre, a very ancient instrument, and it's actually the traditional musical instrument that we play in Crete. I used to play it when I was a kid. My grandfather forced me to start taking lessons because he's crazy about music. It's beautiful, and it's so you know how the violin, you put it like under your chin and you play it, mm-hmm. and there are the chords and the thing. What's it called? The thing?
The bow.
Yeah, the bow. So there is the same. It's like a violin that you place on your knee. And you play with a bow, but like this, not on your chin. You play it like up on your knee. And that's how you play it. And I used to play it and I hated it. And that's just something that I wanted to point out. It made an impression to me that they included a lyre in the book.
Oh, cool. Very, I love that. So Phoebe is back in the underworld now and she escaped herself. So she's looking around trying to figure mm-hmm. out a way out. She's trying to find the models wherever they're captive. So she's kind of like sneaking around the whole underworld there. And mm-hmm. it's generally empty. She's not really seen anybody around. So mm-hmm. and she makes her way to the lower dungeon and she hears, "Help us!" And then and so she believes that the models are being kept there. So she has to get into that room. But then Nikos mm-hmm. catches her and he is frustrated with her. So he takes Phoebe to a banquet. Family is waiting for you at a party. You need to come now. So
whether you're in the mood or not, you're gonna party.
Yep. So he takes Phoebe to the banquet, and that's that.
So now we go into chapter 12, where the siren song has stopped, and one of them has started to get closer with a knife. Fun stuff. Prue is still a bit dazed. She manages to fling her off the cliff with a wave of telekinesis. Piper froze another one, and they started to run. The sirens started to hurl their knives and were about to fly after them. Piper threw her letter opener that she brought from home, and it hit the siren leader in the heart. I didn't know that Piper was so good with her, her aim.
Right. I'm like, wow. Mark's woman.
Exactly. The two escape and they continue walking until they come across Nyx's mountain turf. Phoebe is at the banquet and keeps to herself and lets the gods party, and they are oblivious to her, probably because she has not eaten a thing.
Right.
She grabs a pomegranate. Is that how it's called?
Yeah, you got it. Pomegranate, yeah.
She grabs a pomegranate and starts peeling back the skin, and she's about to eat a seed. She's very tempted, but Piper appears and yells, "No!" and stops her. Phoebe sneaks away with Piper, and they meet up with Prue. They plan to rescue the models, but Nikos blocks their path again. He tries to strike Phoebe, but his hits are automatically blocked due to Zeus's protection. Remember, he agreed with Piper that he would protect Phoebe as long as they went down under and get her out there.
Ta-da!
So, and the sisters gloat in their apparent win, but Nikos says he will kill the models one by one until Phoebe agrees to marry him. So they're in a bad place now.
Yeah. Nikos' servants brought out the models out of their cell. And this is another thing that confused me, because technically this is just their soul. So can you really cut a knife to their throat if it's just, this is not their body, this is their soul?
I don't think so.
You
Maybe
can't-
so.
It's like
We've seen on the show where souls or ghosts were able, could be killed.
right. Yeah,
Maybe it was one of these cases.
yeah, it was weird because he's holding a knife to Chloe's throat. I don't think that would be the way to kill a soul. Like, you can keep them, stranded. You can suck them up somewhere into something, but I don't think a knife to their throat is gonna do much to them. But sure,
It's enough for Nikos and his ego.
yes, it's all for show, and nobody stops to think about it. Instead, so he's like, I'm gonna kill her, but instead he calls his minion demon creature Mitchell. He comes out of the hiding and he's like, "You killed Chloe." Because I don't want to dirty my hands.
Yeah, exactly. You got this little bitch for the dirty work.
Right. And so he's like, Mitchell, kill this model. And
Kill this model.
yeah. Yes, what's gonna happen, Phoebe, if you don't commit to my terms? So now Prue's like, oh, I know who you are. And she's like, just taunts Mitchell with insults. She's like, you're awful. You couldn't get anywhere without Nikos. You're just not good for nothing.
Because if men are one thing, they're fragile. They don't like to have their ego hurt. So
Exactly.
Prue is a very smart woman.
She is.
She knew what force to.
She knows now that this beautiful, caring, sensitive man that she thought she knew is really just another example of toxic masculinity as well. So she's gonna hurt him with his ego. So she gets him mad, but then Piper freezes him and Prue like hurls him into walls. And they do this repeatedly. Another thing is like, we're gonna freeze you, we're make you mad, freeze you, throw you against the wall. We're gonna freeze you and throw you against another wall. And I'm like, wow, this is like just beat him up over here.
It's the same thing that I was telling you earlier, where they get to use their powers at the same time, like repeatedly. Like, how many times do you think Piper freeze somebody multiple times in a scene?
Yeah, that would never happen on the show. It's too much special effects, and really, on the show, you only have to do it once to get the point. So
exactly.
But yeah, they do this a lot. Mitchell gave up. Then he's like, I can't live like this. And Nikos is like disgusted. He's like, you're disgusting me. You're weak.
I love Nico. I love Mitchell. How he went from being this, like ferocious monster into like a crybaby.
Yeah, a cowering dog with its tail between its legs.
Exactly. I like drinking men's tears with my morning coffee.
Yeah. So now Nikos because apparently he's this monster and he was so successful because he made this like Faustian deal with Nikos, and that's why he's this journalist, and I guess that's why he's a monster. I don't know. But Nikos made him human again, or Mitchell human again, and now he's like, now you are going to be forced to live on Earth again with normal humans, and you're not going to be successful. You're going to lose all your credentials and stuff. I'm like, okay, fine. Now Nikos went to kill Chloe himself, and Prue began to recite a spell to accelerate time, which it's not the spell that they use in the show to accelerate time. It's a different one, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we go to the spells. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
And then her sisters joined in, and they say the spell, and they accelerate time forward 2 days. So they go 2 days to Nikos's birthday. And I guess now that's the end of the book because he failed to marry Phoebe. It's his birthday. Oh, so sad. I guess it's over.
I was shocked with that. It was so smart.
Yeah.
Hard to think of that.
Yeah, because the curse for him was already enacted before he even got there. So yeah. So now he's cursed. He's banished to Earth. No magic. And he's made to live as mortal. And there you go, Nikos. And so now then the sisters grabbed the bottles and they left.
They sashayed away. And then we go to the last chapter 14. So a week later, Prue walks past the Gorgon statue that is in the sunroom and meets her sisters in the kitchen. The models are safe with no memory, which is good. And Phoebe is blonde again. Because, of course, went to the salon and changed it back.
Right.
Prue made the 415 cover, so good for her. And Mitchell is forced to write obituaries now that the Faustian deal for success is over. The sisters all get sledgehammers and start hacking at the Gorgon statue until it's nothing but rubble. And that's pretty much how the story ends.
Yes, the end.
I loved it. It was
Yes,
I miss Charmed. I miss Charmed so much.
it takes you back.
It was reading a brand new story because it's new to me. Like it was nostalgic and beautiful. And
Oh,
yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts that you wanted to mention?
I really enjoyed this particular book, and thank you so much for choosing me to be part of this particular episode, because I'm from Greece, and the book is dipped into Greek mythology, and it's something that I love. Charmed and everything that they do, like the novels, the episodes, everything. I love it, everything. But when they tackle Greek mythology, that's extra special to me. So it was awesome reading this one. So
Yay. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming on. This is awesome. Cool. I liked it too. It's just the things that confused me that bothered me. I think that's probably why I was dwelling on those. But I did like this book. I think I would have liked an epic quest. Like some Percy Jackson or like God of War or like a Herculean quest and amp up that mythology. But
yeah, could have been nice.
Yeah, instead of making it more of like just like a Nikos bride and if you being captive all this time, I think I would have liked something like more extra. Mm-hmm. But that's just me. I don't know. It was still good.
That's just you. I liked it.
So if the girls can only get to the underworld by the camera, that was the only kind of portal into the camera. How are all the creatures getting out and attacking?
Oh, yeah, we never found out.
And I wonder.
I'm assuming that Nikos was sending them through one of his portals. I mean, he's the prince of the underworld.
Sure.
Like,
he would have
must
portals.
Have the ability to create portals, or that's how they ended up there. I mean, the creatures. That's how they ended up in the manor.
Mm-hmm. What was the purpose for these? Why were they coming after them? Because in the beginning, they were coming after them before they even. So like they're about to go take the picture and go there anyway, but they're being attacked before they even get there. It's like, are you trying to stop them from using the camera? Why are you attacking them? That's exactly what he wants them to do.
Well, the first one was Cerberus.
You have the Cerberus and the Harpies that attacked before they even got into the camera.
Oh, you're right. So the timing is off.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it would make sense if the creatures started appearing after the photo had been taken, and Nikos was just trying to prevent Prue and Piper from back to the underworld. But what was the purpose of sending them while Phoebe was there?
Mm-hmm. It was strange. So I did like the battles, and I did like seeing the creatures. I liked that. I just didn't understand the motivations and why they were there and how they were there. So that's something I would have liked more on.
I'm going to email Elizabeth Lenhorn,
yes,
the author. Ask her.
Clue us in. I was kind of like Jumanji for me, really. The creatures. It was like
Jumanji?
It was very Jumanji. Jumanji Greek edition. Greek Mythology Edition.
Greek edition. Oh, I love that movie as a kid. And yes, you're right.
Yeah, it's totally that.
It is. It's fun to watch, but frightening if you're.
So that, and then the logistics of the camera and physical soul body thing, that was weird to me. But otherwise, yeah, I enjoyed it. Had a good time with this book.
It's just a novel. I mean,
I know
many of the episodes didn't even make sense. But
that's true. That is true. There are a lot of things in the episodes too that you have to forgive. So I'm just picking it apart because it's a podcast and it's what we do. Put that in my canonical hat.
Canonical.
Would you have liked to see this be an actual episode? And do you think it could possibly be there? Is there anything that prevents it from being canon or accurate?
For sure. I would love to see it as an episode. And I was thinking about it all throughout my reading. But the thing is that there are so many, I don't think it would ever got to a point where it would be made an episode, because first of all, there are so many characters in the book, the models and Nichol, and then we have so many creatures And
think of all like the prosthetics and makeup and
the
all that stuff.
prosthetics and the CGI and Karen and the boat and the tropical islands and the forests and the caves and everything. So many locations.
It'd be so expensive. Yeah, it wouldn't make the cut. which is why it's a book. That's one thing that you can do in books that you couldn't ever do in the show. That's what's nice about it.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, maybe they could. A movie, probably, yeah. But an episode, no. It doesn't fit like into 45 minutes. Doesn't fit.
Right.
Like the whole.
I found the perfect spot for where it would be though. If this were to be made into an episode, the best spot would be between Magic Hour and Once Upon a Time. So between 2 and 3 of season 3. Because we have Phoebe's levitation power kick in. But you notice Leo is out of the picture. He's not in this at all. He's not around. Yeah. End of Magic Hour, he was taken away. The elders took him away and wasn't going to allow them to be together.
Yes.
And it would have been and then he comes back at the end of Once Upon a Time. But this would have made it even harder to see a full episode where he just wasn't in there at all. And bridge that gap.
I didn't think of him at all throughout the book.
Right.
Let me tell you.
Right. I know.
He's not my favorite character, Leo.
So yeah, it is strange because he actually hasn't been in any book yet. This is the ninth. This is the 9th book. He was mentioned in some books, but his character was never active in any of these books yet. So
I'm fine with it. I don't mind.
Oh, Leo hater. Okay.
I'm not a hater. I mean, come on, Leo is great. He's nice. But I prefer Dan over Leo any day. Greg Vaughn, are you kidding? He's so fucking hot.
He does seem more your type. I have to agree. Yeah, you're right.
He's totally my type, but he's my type now that he's older. I mean, he was great back in Charmed in '99, but now, have you seen pictures? Any recent pictures?
Oh yeah.
Oh God, he's a 4-course meal. Let me tell you, Greg Vaughn.
Yeah, I follow his Instagram. I know. All right.
Yep, I follow him too. I follow him on Twitter as well. He's so handsome, and I keep telling Holly that I prefer that I want to meet him, but she teases me.
I love that.
Dreamy.
You're gonna tell Holly you're on this podcast now, and.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell her. I'm going to send her a link, and if she has time, then she can read it.
Where in the next section we're gonna read the spells that were featured in this book.
Should we try a spell?
Why not? Let's try a spell.
In the wind, I sing this rhyme. Bring death before me, before my time.
You've really got to lay off the rhyming, Prue.
Wonderful. Witty, but wordy.
I did the rhyme. I will do the time. Good night.
And there were a lot of spells on this book.
So the first spell is to temporarily remove a witch's power. For an instant, may we be ordinary mortals 3. Take us where we want to go, then back to our powers let us go. What should I say? If I like it or not?
Yeah.
It's a nice one. It seems like a very simple one, though.
It's very simple. I have a problem with rhyming words with themselves. Take us where we want to go, then back to our powers let us go. I'm like, that's lazy.
Right?
I'm like, yeah.
The trick, though.
Yeah, but it's
effective.
Yes, it's simple. It has a decent flow and it attempts to rhyme. So I don't hate it. It's just not good. Yeah. The next one is the incantation for lost souls. So when a wandering spirit evades you, say this spell, for it will aid you. Spirit, oh spirit, where are you roaming? Follow our call and return to us running. Ugh. No. Roaming and running. That does not do the trick. I'm sorry.
That was a lazy one.
Yeah. Oh my god. And that was used, I think, in the underworld to kind of like follow a wisp or whatever down to something, I think. But yeah, that was not good.
Not it. That was not it. So the next one is to send someone to Mountain Olympus, and a potion is to be made with the following ingredients: lavender, thyme, sage, saffron, red clay, rose thorns, scales from a silver fish, A salmon, maybe. Stone chipped from sculpture. You simmer it for 4 hours in a base of red wine, water, and a song.
So you have to play music. It's very involved. Well, the whole thing, you have to get all these items and very specific. And they use
very specific and too many ingredients.
Yeah.
I feel like.
And they chipped the Gorgon statue off to put into the potion too. They use that for that.
Once the potion is ingested, the sender will chant these words at sunrise to send the traveler off. To the heavens take this traveler as the sun rises, the sky shall have her. One day she'll walk among the clouds, protect her with heaven's benevolent shroud. I'm not really feeling it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't know who would want to drink that potion because you've got crazy things in it. Like I'm not gonna drink rose thorns and red clay and chipped sculpture. Like that's not something I want. Yeah. I don't think it's healthy. That's not safe for a human body.
Lavender, thyme, sage, and saffron are nice.
Yeah,
and red wine is nice. Water is nice, but the rest,
no.
No.
So there's that, and then I feel like it starts off okay. The spell starts off okay, but it gets to the end. The amount of syllables are all wrong. Protector with heaven's benevolent shroud.
Yeah, it doesn't really rhyme, does it?
Yeah, and you just quoted charm just there. You didn't know that probably. You said it doesn't really rhyme, does it? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, it doesn't really rhyme.
In Brain Drain, the doctor in Brain Drain.
I love that episode so much.
Yeah.
Season 4 is my favorite season.
Oh really? Oh cool. Next one is to unbind a bond. In the book, they said this was a spell that she found in Phoebe's stack, but this was actually from the show. This was the one that sent them back in time in that 70s episode. So they repurposing the spell and changing the lore a little bit of it, but it's this is one where she uses her sister's power of 3 objects.
Yeah.
The bond which was not to be done, give us the power to see it undone and turn back time to whence it was begun. So that is
it rhyme, but again, it's lazy.
It's lazy. Well, because they have done and undone, which I'm more forgiving there because it's a variant of the word, but still not quite what I want. I think I'm more forgiving of it because it was actually used in the show.
I don't remember the one on the show. How did it go?
Exactly like this. It's word for word.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the word for word from what they used in that 70s episode. And that's what sent them back to the 70s.
Great episode, by the way.
Yes. Season 1, episode 17.
To call someone back from Mountain Olympus. So the spell must be cast by the center at sunset. And it goes like this. From the heavens bring the traveler as the sun sets. The sky shall no more have her. One day she walked among the clouds. Now cast her from heaven's benevolent shroud. Is it the same as before?
It's just like they just changed some words.
Words.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
it's the same problems. It's pretty much exactly the same
problem.
So, yeah. So I'm not really loving the spells in this book.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and then they have this to accelerate time. This is when they used to bring 2 days forward. This is kind of an alternate of the one they used to go back in time, the one bond which was not to be done. But this was the bond which was not to be done. Give us the power to see it undone and move time forward. For thee we shun. I don't like it. Especially since they already have a spell to accelerate time in the show that they didn't use.
Yes. So in which episode was it used?
Deja vu all over again. It was season 1, episode 22.
Yeah. Tempest.
Yeah, Tempest. And so that spell was winds of time gather round, give me wings to speed my way, rush me on my journey forward, let tomorrow be today.
That's a great one.
Beautiful spell. Beautiful spell. They could have appropriated that to make it work for let August 15th be today. Let his birthday be today or whatever to make it work. But they just did not do that. So, but yeah.
I don't know why they didn't use it. But anyway.
Yeah. So that's done with rhyme time. 2 more bad guys in this book. bringing our total of baddies that we have in all the books so far to 13. But I'm only keeping a top 10, so some people have been knocked off. I'm just gonna quickly go over where I think these new people will go. Nikos did not make my list. He did not make my.
Okay.
He did not make. I mean, he's not top 10 on my list. He's actually second to last because I just didn't like him. I mean, he was like a show.
He was lazy.
He was lazy. All he did was walk around and gloat and just like, look at me, I'm the best, and I'm not really doing anything.
I'm powerful, and he didn't do anything.
No, he
was
did
just
not.
shimmering around.
Yeah, he was more like a symbol, and is also
Yeah.
I can't get behind his motivation, so he's so he's not on the list. But Mitchell, I really enjoyed Mitchell. I think probably because even for
It was more fun.
he was more fun. He was crazy. I love a creature with a tail. I mean, why not?
Mm-hmm.
And he was deceptive enough. He really got you on his side, and that's when you can do that to me. I commend your evil ways. So
Exactly. He draw me in. Like, he was so nice, and apparently he was very handsome and accomplished. And I was heartbroken when he turned into a monster. And then the way that Prue vanquished him is iconic.
I mean, as one does, as Prue does.
So he deserves a spot on your list.
He's on my list. He's number 8 out of 10. So we're getting near. We have one more book before I'm having people turn in their lists. But just keep. If you're listening, keep a list of your own, and then give us your own rankings. And at the end of 10 books, we'll compile all of the lists and see who wins in the grand scheme.
Who's the baddest?
Yes, who's the baddest of the bad? I have this thing called Tips for Future White Letters.
I was out being a force of good in the universe.
Is there any advice, or is there any lesson or moral that we could learn from this book?
The first thing that comes to mind is don't trust men.
I mean, it's fair. Be cautious when you're going.
Don't trust men, because it's the most beautiful ones that are the most dangerous ones.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what else.
I'll take it for real.
It's very wise.
My tip for this week is it helps to be well versed in something you learned in school. Who knew?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It can help you
refresh my memory too.
Okay. And now I'm doing a game for you.
What is this, some kind of game?
Grimoire Games.
Some people think this is entertainment.
I decided we're gonna take an online quiz that I found about which Greek mythological creature you are. So, what genre do you find more compelling, fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Would you describe yourself as more of an introvert or an extrovert?
Extrovert.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
What is a hero to you? Someone foolish enough to pick a side, an obstacle, someone who believes in magic, someone with a pure heart, someone who rises to the occasion, an annoyance.
Someone who rises to the occasion.
During what time of day do you flourish? Late at night, afternoon, morning, or evening?
Evening.
Which unusual living situation would you rather move into? Treehouse, cave, or igloo?
Igloo. That's fun.
Be with the Eskimos. We can Eskimo kiss. Yes.
Eskimo kids.
Just like we can noozle, noozle. Anyway, noozles. Anyway, you're heading to karaoke night. What song are you singing? Son of a Preacher Man by Dusty Springfield, Little Red Corvette by Prince, I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston, Let It Be by the Beatles, Wanna Be by the Spice Girls, Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen.
I'm going to go with I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston, even though I don't love it.
Okay. That was like my greatest guilty pleasure song. Whenever that comes on, I can't help but jam out. Like I will always sing it. I will always dance to it, and it always puts me in a good mood no matter what. I mean, it's crazy.
We all have.
Would you describe yourself as vain? Definitely. I know I look good. No, sadly, the opposite. I have very low self-esteem. I can be vain sometimes, but it's not a huge part of my personality.
Yeah, third
Okay.
one.
Okay.
I had my moments. Like yesterday, I woke up and I was feeling sexy. I was
Yeah.
feeling myself.
Which I think is healthy. I think it's important to feel your oats
Yeah,
and like yourself. So
for
good.
sure.
Okay, I got your answer. You ready?
Yes.
It says you are a nymph.
And named I am.
A nymph. Positively enchanting. You're an interesting mix of empathetic politician and pragmatic yet playful dreamer. You strongly believe in the power of justice, but also believe in the power of protecting yourself. Oh,
Yes.
you're always willing to lend a hand, but not if there's a risk it would negatively affect you. Your enemies
Yeah.
are in for a surprise if they consider you helpless. Feisty and quick to act, you're a bit of a trickster, but that just means you know how to enjoy yourself. From appreciating a sunny day to standing up to what you believe in, you're carpe diem every day. I love that.
I love it too. And it's spot on. That's pretty much it.
All right. Well, that's the end then. We did it. We did everything. It took quite a long time. I'm sorry. But so I guess now we just have to say our goodbyes. Do you have any places you want people to follow you?
My current, see, I forgot because I have a new Twitter account. My new Twitter account is Enter the Attic. And that is also my YouTube channel's name. My Instagram is Charmed Dimitris. However, right now it's deactivated because I needed some time off for my mental health. But I'm gonna reactivate it in a month or so. And yeah, my TikTok is Charmed Dimitris. I'm trying to create some stuff over there as well. So yeah, Twitter,
Lovely.
TikTok, Instagram. You can find me wherever you want.
Yeah. So, and you can follow this podcast on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, Words of the Witches. You can research it. If you search it anywhere, you'll find us. And then you can email us at wordsofwitchespod@gmail.com. And if you want to follow me personally, you can go to KGZ87, where I'm just an eclectic ball of everything. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Your destiny still awaits. Magic.
Bye.
Bye.